Hello everybody, and welcome to another video with me, and this time we're looking at active birth. So when we think about active birth, we're not thinking about like going to the gym and a gym experience, during labour, that you've got to practice, lots and lots of different positions and do them in rotation throughout labour. No, active birth is all about finding the best positions that feel right for you. Maybe just 2 or 3, maybe just 1 or 2, and just going into those positions as it feels comfortable for you. But the most important thing is being in a good upright position. And sometimes that's hard for us to picture because, as I've mentioned in previous videos, lots of us have watched TV shows where most women birthing their babies tend to be on the bed, yeah? And that's often because perhaps in those circumstances something's happened along the way that means that's the right sort of birth for them. But you see that enough times and in your head you think everyone births their babies sitting on the bed, and that's not true. The best position, if possible for you, is to be in a good upright position. If I show you my pelvis here, my doll and pelvis, this is familiar to you. We've looked at this where, in other videos, and if you can see, that's that flexible bit of bone here, that coccyx, that when you're sitting down curls round. When you are not sitting on it, then if I show it to you here, then it's very pliable and it doesn't curl round, so it can move slightly out of the way actually as your baby's coming through the birth canal and give you more space through that birth canal. So being up and moving around is a great thing to do, and practicing lots of different positions. Now the first thing that I want to mention to you about that really is the use of a ball. Yeah, so here I've got my ball here, and I hope that you're going to find this a really useful tool to use. Now when we talk about the ball to start with, what you don't want of your ball is you don't want it so it's rock hard. You're not at the gym, again, you're not looking for core strength stability. What you're looking for in a ball is it's going to be, so you sit on it, it's going to feel really comfortable, but it's not going to be rock hard. So you sit down into it a little bit. So if I show you here, so if I sit on the ball here, I don't know if you can see, when I'm sitting on the ball, if I just move back a little bit against the my kitchen here so you can just see a little bit better. I don't know if you can see, but when I'm sitting on the ball, my hips and my knees are in line with each other, rather like they would be when I'm sitting on a chair. And that's the perfect position. So when you're choosing a ball, you don't want a ball that's going to sit you too low down, because if that's my hips and that's my knees, what you want is the hips and the knees to be equal, or perhaps the hips to be slightly higher than the knees, not to be lower. And that's probably sounding familiar for sofas at home, maybe for your workplace chairs, maybe even your car seat. And that's not good. As pregnancy progresses, you find you get more backache, more uncomfortable, and sitting in those sort of positions is not good. And for labour, of course, sitting in this better, more upright position tips the pelvis at a better angle. So anytime from about 30 odd weeks, good to have a ball, good to start using them, or beforehand if you have aches and pains, because if you're sitting on a chair and you're feeling uncomfortable and you move, there's an air pocket, isn't there, between where you've lifted that cheek of your bottom off the seat. If you're sitting on a ball, that's never going to happen, because if you're sitting on a ball, every time you move, the ball goes with you. So it's much more comfortable, and it's great for getting that baby in that last trimester, in the last third of that pregnancy, into a better position for labour and birth. So choosing a ball then, don't spend a lot of money. You don't need to spend a lot, I promise you. A cheap ball is good, but it's got to be a right size. So they come in 56, 65 and 72 centimetres. Don't bother with a 56, even if you're short like me. No, 56 is not really going to be much good to you. You want the 65 or the 72, because then they'll blow up to the size that you want them to be and still be a little bit spongy, rather than having to make them rock hard to get to the size that you want. And another little tip that I've discovered along the way, whoever knew there was a special way to blow up a ball, but blow it up to about 50%, leave it overnight. Blow it up the rest of the way, leave it overnight. Then the rubber stretches well, yeah? Then let the air out of it and then blow it up again, and then you're good to go. And that way you have a ball like I've got now, which is a good size for you, but actually feels quite comfortable too, yeah? And is soft without being, as I say, like that gym experience. So you can see I'm sitting on the ball. In this particular, sort of here in my kitchen, you may not see so well, although you probably can see. If I kneel on the floor, I might have a cushion or something I was kneeling on my knees with, and then I can lean over the ball. Now I'd say to you that's another really comfortable position to be in on the ball, but actually what you want to be careful of is you don't want to have the ball underneath your bum, because that's going to make you want to go to the toilet all of the time. But if you have it just a little bit in front of you, so it's resting against you, you can maybe just rest on it like this and roll backwards and forwards. I'm sure you can see from this picture, well from me, on the screen there, you can see when I do this, my back is beautifully exposed, and in a few moments we're going to start to think about the things that might keep you in good positions for labour. Because I've said to you, being up and moving around is good, getting into good positions that feels comfortable for you. Because to be honest with you, if you had cramp in the middle of the night, you wouldn't just lie in bed and think about it. You get up and you'd move around, yeah? If people have achy backs, whether they're pregnant or not pregnant, very few people just stay in bed or stay in that position and just think about it. What they tend to do is they start to move around and they lean forward. This is the perfect position for you if you're feeling any aches and pains, and it's a much better way, as we spoke about on a previous video, to do that breathing. So that rather than just doing the shallow breaths, you're able to use your diaphragm more and get those bigger breaths. It's going to be a lot easier and a lot more comfortable for you in labour and birth. So, going back to my ball for just a moment. We've said about sitting on it, rolling on it. Now, unfortunately, my kitchen is not easy to show you this, but I want you to just to imagine for a moment that was a wall, yeah? And all of that was wall and it didn't have cupboards, yeah? If that was the case, I could put the ball against the wall like this, and I could then lean against the ball, yeah? So the ball is in the small of my back, and then I can rotate my back over the ball. This is really nice for some massage. You obviously have to be on a nice long straight wall that you're not going to disappear around the corner, but this can be a really nice way just to massage your back, and you don't need anyone there. So if your partner isn't around, and you're just by yourself and you've got this backache and you haven't got a helper to massage your back, you can do this quite successfully yourself, putting as much pressure as you want to. So you can see the ball is worth its weight in gold. It's good for pregnancy, it's good for labour, it's good for birth, and it would be great afterwards when you do want it for core strength later down the line. Yeah. So balls are really worth having. Currently at Worthing, we have got balls, so you might not, but you wouldn't necessarily need to bring your own in with you. But I would always say it's a really good idea to, if you've got one, to leave it in the car. Then if the ones that we've got aren't a good size for you, and you get used to your own, then it's only just in the car you can bring it up. And at Chichester, I'd say exactly the same. It's always good to bring the ball with you. If you've been using one, leave it in the car, and then you can bring it up to the unit if it's just there ready to use if you want it. Okay, so the ball is really great. So we've started to say that being up and moving around is good. That might mean, sort of plodding around, or it might be getting into more comfortable positions within that space in your room or labour ward. So if we imagine this for a second isn't a chair, and we imagine this is the bed, rather than sitting on the bed like this, like you see on the TV where they're leaning back like this, maybe it's a good idea to kneel up on the bed, yeah? So your tummy is where the pillow would normally be, and your knees are where your bottom would traditionally be. That way, again, can you see, it just leaves itself open for that nice bit of massage to help me to relax, to keep me in that position, yeah? So while we're sort of discussing that, maybe this might be an opportunity to just demonstrate a little bit of that massage. So, for one video only, I've asked Ben, my husband, to come and give me a hand, because I was going to demonstrate this on the fridge and all the rest of it, but actually a real person. So thanks very much, Pete, if you don't mind. Yeah, come on in and just kneel up on the chair. So great. So I want to demonstrate a little bit of massage that you might find useful when you're in those good upright positions. You might be, as we said, leaning on the bed bed, you might be plodding around, you might be leaning against a door, you could be anywhere, back exposed, you could be sitting on the ball perhaps, like this, leaning against the bed. Great, anywhere like that you can just maybe get a little bit of massage is just going to help you to relax and to stay there. So the first bit of massage I want to show you, and I hope you'll be able to see this, I think you can on the screen there, is it's kind of a deep massage, and this is really nice for when you're in labour. It's good for during contractions or in between them as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from the top of the, so if you imagine this is a pregnant mum, instead of my husband, go from the top of your neck down to the base of your bottom, leading with the heel of my hand, yeah? And I hope that you can see that I start at the top and I just lead with the heel of my hand, and I let the rest of my hand drag over. And as one hand gets to the bottom, the other one's already at the top. So there's never ever a time that, there's no element of surprise, yeah? You're never waiting for that hand to be on their back there. You can do this, of course, directly onto the skin, or you can do it over clothes, whichever, but you're going down the middle of their back there, putting as much pressure or as little pressure as they require. And they'll tell you, so you've got to say, speak up, say firmer or softer, whatever feels good. But most people like this quite firm, yeah? So no element of surprise. Now you might be thinking of using some aromatherapy oils, and whilst they're great, they're better on a tissue or on a little bit of cotton wool that you can just sniff intermittently. They're not really good to use as part of a massage, because if you then don't like the smell of them, or you get fed up in labour of that smell, you're kind of stuck with it because it's already onto your skin. So actually something like baby oil, or maybe, just letting your hands just go over the back is much better. And save those aromatherapy oils just for the purposes of smelling them at that point during the labour. So this is quite nice, this nice deep massage. So that's nice for labour. Now what I always do as well, can you see I'm just doing it as my husband's on his side there, on his hips as I stop. And that's kind of a good thing to do. That's always been my little way of, when you're doing some massage, when you finish, put the hands on the hips. Because that's like code for saying, I've had enough now. Don't expect any more. I've finished. I've stopped, yeah? Because then, the person that's receiving it is thinking, oh, that's finished. They're not thinking, there's any more coming, yeah? So that's one form of massage. From the top of the neck down to the base, bottom, deep massage. Now, that's good for pain relief, but actually there's another sort of massage that's really nice to do as well. And this one is one I want to show you, which is called light touch massage. So this one isn't really about pain relief. What this one is about giving you that feeling, that relaxed feeling, yeah? And if you practice this a lot in the run-up to labour and birth, actually just this feeling, this sensation that you get when you have this sort of touch can make, you don't have to do it all over the back. In fact, with that deeper one, if you were in labour and you couldn't get to someone's back, you could transfer that feeling, say, to the tops of the legs. But again, that same sort of deep massage, you would need to continue the flow. So you'd be doing that deep massage up and down the thighs, but you couldn't take your hand off because they wouldn't know when it was coming again. So you can transfer that deep massage anywhere. But again, with the light touch, this light touch massage you can transfer too. But if you've practiced it, you'll have that trigger in your head. And actually, I remember this feeling. This makes me feel relaxed. So this light touch is really, so using the heels of my hands and letting the rest of my hands rub over. This time I'm using my fingers or my fingertips. And what I'm going to be doing is with my fingers and fingertips, I'm going to be like conducting the orchestra up his back. Yeah? So you can do this all the way up, yeah? And so you're leading with your fingers and fingertips and then letting the rest of your hand drag over. So you start down low, just about where just sort of where the two cheeks of your bottom become one, yeah? You start in the middle and you go out to the edge. And then back into the middle again and out to the edge. Back into the middle, out to the edge. So I always say to people that it's really good to imagine that you're painting a door and you haven't got a roller, yeah? You have to use a very fine paintbrush. So you have to go over every part of that door, otherwise you'll see the undercoat. In the same way, when you're doing this light touch massage up someone's back, you have to go over every bit of their back, Otherwise, it's not relaxing. So a couple of swoops up to the top of the neck just won't work. So slowly, and doing the same on both sides, yeah? So again, you couldn't just do it with one hand, you've got to do both sides exactly the same. Tickle, tickle, and the nape of the neck, and then coming back down again. Because I'm showing you on the camera, I'm kind of standing to one side, but obviously you would stand directly behind this person, and it would make it a hell of a lot easier to make it equal on both sides. And of course you can go up and down as many times as you want to, and I would say that you can alter that a little bit as well. So when you get up to the top, perhaps you might choose to do on the way down some of the time a nice firm rub down the arms to the elbows, a nice firm rub down the arms to the elbows. Incorporate that in, yeah, firm rub down the arms to the elbows, back into the centre, and then all the way down. And of course, if you've got a pregnant mummy, on the way down you can take your fingers round to include that light touch around the bump as well, which can be really nice. And that's useful for labour, of course, because you know in labour, thank you, stay where you are for a second, stay where you are, and you know in labour, of course, you know we're going to be listening into the babies every 15 minutes, as I said, in that first part of labour, that first active part of labour. And when you're pushing, about, you know, at the end of each contraction, each wave, each surge, about every 3 to 5 minutes or so. So actually, if you're used to that sort of light touch around your tummy, that won't take you out of that nice relaxed place when, you know, when we're having to just listen in to check your baby's happy. Okay, now what I want to show you now is, just so I'm getting you to just stay there for a second, it's over this side, is what I wanted to just show you now is something else that you can do that can be quite nice. So if I sort of bring this a bit nearer to the camera, you can probably see, can you see that's a spiky ball? So it's called a spiky massage ball. You get them on Amazon, get them anywhere. It kind of looks like the ball that you would have in your washing, you know, tumble dryer or washing machine. Also looks a bit like a dog toy, but it's not. They kind of feel a bit different. They're quite rigid, but it's a spiky massage ball, and it's used outside of pregnancy as well as in pregnancy. Lots of people find this is really nice to relieve muscle tension, yeah? Because as we said in a previous video, when you put some, when you have a reduced blood supply to an area of your body, you know that it can hurt you more. So if you put lots of pressure using one of these balls, what you do is you increase the blood supply to that part of the body, so it can make it feel, you know, it can be really good for pain relief. So what I'm going to show you now with this ball is this is particularly useful, again, anytime that you've got backache, but it's really good in that early part of labour, when you've got the periody type pain, the backache, yeah, in that early part of labour. So you can do it with the heel of your hand, and you can just put some pressure on where the two cheeks at the bottom become one, and this time you're going to rub, but you're not going to, it's not like you're cleaning the window sort of rub, it's like you've got velcros on your hand, and imagine that's the bottom, velcros on your bottom, and you're like kneading dough, so you're keeping the hand there, they're like velcros together. So I'm going to press the ball against the two cheeks of its bottom there, and just below where the two cheeks of your bottom become one. And it's a very small circular rotation. In fact, the distance that I'm travelling is no bigger than the size of a 50p. So you're not doing big rotations. It's about pressure and a tiny rotation. And that can be really soothing. Now, of course, what many people will then try to do is they then try to roll the ball up the back, of course. But it goes off in all directions, so that isn't so nice, it isn't so comfortable. And, you know, because it's not very relaxing when the ball's going in all directions there, yeah? I mean, it can be, but for lots of people, they get fed up of that. So I've got another little tool here that's, it's called an extendable massage stick. Well, actually, it's called an extendable self-massage stick, but forget about the self-massage bit on this, yeah? I would say, if I come up really close, can you see it? It's called extendable because obviously it does this, but as I say, forget about the self-massage bit, it's good if someone else does this for you. So what this does is very similar really to this, but you can make it go up the back. So rather than this and then trying to go up here, with this you can do this. So lots of pregnant mums and mums in labour will say this feels really nice. So this is like imitating really that first first massage I did, the deep massage, yeah? But the difference with this, of course, is that it's probably a lot easier for the person doing it. For the person that's having it done to them, it's not quite as nice as when you have that deep massage with your hand, but for the person doing it, it's probably a little bit easier. You can chat away, doesn't take nearly as much effort, yeah? And then that light touch massage, the one that I said was like conducting the orchestra, up the back, tickling into the neck, come all the way down again, you can mimic this by extending the stick, because then there quite naturally isn't so much pressure. And you can go off into all directions. Feels a little bit like I'm doing my ironing, yeah? So up like this and over like this. So this can feel really quite nice for the person that's having the massage, hopefully, but for the person that's doing it, it's a lot easier. So maybe it's an idea for something you might think about using. Those two little bits of gadgetry there, but if you don't, it's all very possible just with your hands. Now, just one other thing, well, I've still got Pete here as my model, just helping me. I just want to demonstrate something else, because I want to just go back a little bit with you over some of the breathing. And I just want to show you, we've talked in other videos, and we will in a minute just go back a little bit over some of the breathing, but we talked in some of the other videos about the breathing that you might use in labour, in the early part of labour and in the active part of labour, really, when breathing in through the nose, and that happens quite naturally, and then really focused on the breathing out, making the out breath longer than the in breath, yeah? And how you can incorporate that into the massage is like this. So what I'm saying here is I'm going to get Pete to do this for us. We're going to get him to breathe in, and as he breathes in, I'm going to take my hands up his back. I'm going to give a little press down, and then I want him to breathe out as my hands go down. So in a way, this is quite good. If someone is a bit panicky with the breathing, you can like coach them to make it a bit slower, a little bit more controlled, a little bit more relaxed, yeah? So you can't go up the back too slowly, because it's hard to make that breath really slow. So that has to be, you know, not racing up, but not too slow either. So going up the back, little press down, and then the breath out, so they breathe out all the time. Your hand is going down the back. So up again, little press down, and breathing out. And I don't know if you could hear that as I was doing it, I was actually doing that breathing. So I'll do it again. And that can be really good to help someone to sort of like, as I say, to regulate the breathing, and it can feel quite nice. And again, it's something that you can do together. And you can, if someone is breathing really sort of panicking, really breathing quite quickly at first, then obviously you can't do it that slowly. So you can listen to what they're doing and try and do it faster with them and faster out, but then try and lead them to make it slower. I hope that makes sense. Your midwife, when you're with us on Labour Ward, will be able to go through that with you. And again, but have a little practice, hopefully, at that. So one last thing, just with Pete, if you don't mind, just before we go, one more thing about the breathing. If you just turn around, so we can do this together. Because while we were just discussing how that it was a good idea to, if someone was a bit panicky and not breathing very well, I think I mentioned on one of the previous videos that actually I was going to do this when I managed to persuade to get some help doing this breathing, because this is called matching and pacing, and this is really good to do. Maybe an ideal time, this might come into your head, that's really useful to use it, is just before you get to the stage where you're ready to push. And I mentioned it on a previous video. It was called the transitional phase. So it's just at the bit where the neck of the woman is almost opened around the baby's head, and you just have that, there's a rush of hormones, and you were doing really lovely and really nice and calm, and then suddenly you say, oh, I'm going to go home now, I've had enough. And we say to you, no, just hang on, let's just get the baby out first. But something that you can do together to help you get through this stage is something called matching and pacing, yeah? So I'm going to imagine for a second, you've got to imagine that Pete is the pregnant woman, just for a second. So you're going to imagine that he's a bit panicky and you're sort of panting. So he's a bit panicky and he's not breathing very slowly. So I'm going to put my hand on his chest. And then I'm going to put his hand on my chest, yeah? So he's panting, so I pant too. So go, I start to slow it down. And what I hope is going to happen is as I slow my breathing down, he slows his down too. Now the reason is, of course, that if you're panting and you know you're a bit panicking, you're breathing really fast. If I was to say to you, slow that breathing down, come on, slow it down, you know, just try and be nice and calm. That's almost like a red rag, isn't it? You think, no, I can't. And so you can't calm down. You think, no, I can't do that. Whereas if we've practiced in advance and we've done this, you know that hand on the chest means, oh yeah, breathing, yeah? So it's matching, so I'm matching his breathing, and then I start to pace it, yeah? So I start to slow it down. So as soon as his breathing now slows down, I can put his hand down here, and if he was a pregnant mummy, then I would be able to move my hand to the top of his bump, yeah? To the top of his tummy there, and I would be able to leave it there all the time that he was having that contraction. Because of course, as we know, when you're having that contraction, the womb goes tight and then it softens off again. So if you've got your hand on the top of the womb, you can feel when that's happening, you can feel when that contraction is going away. You can help mum with the breathing nice and calmly while it's still there, and you don't have to say, has it gone yet? I'm really annoyed, yeah? So that way you can just calmly help her to breathe and until that contraction, that wave at surge is gone. Okay, thank you very much. So, right, just a few more things then. Thank you very much. That's how we're done over there. So, just a few more things then. Oh, where are the days we could do it in the classes? This is really awkward, isn't it? I'm trying to show you everything I want to show you, but it's not easy when we're trying to make do in my kitchen here. Okay, so hopefully those days of being able to do it with you live again won't be too far away. But anyway, for now, this is good. Well, hopefully this is good. Gives you an idea anyway. So just before we finish, I just wanted to just go over, like I said, just a few things about the breathing with you, because they are the fundamental things for helping you to be nice and calm and relaxed in labour and birth. So if you remember, when we talked about the breathing for labour and birth, we focused on the out breath, not on the in breath, because that comes really naturally. So we automatically go, but we have to remember the out breath. Remember, we're trying to make the out breath longer and slower than the in breath. Don't overthink it, don't panic it, because then you don't breathe calmly then. Just let that in breath come naturally, and then focus on the long, slower out breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Trying, if you can, to make that out breath longer and slower with soft lips, yeah? It's not piercing your lips like you're going to blow up a balloon, just breathing in through the nose and slowly out through the mouth. And that's why I think we talked about on the previous one, we talked about how it was good to try and use the whole of your chest space. So when you had your hand up here, you did little breaths. It didn't take much of a deep breath to make your hand move. Whereas if you put your hand on your tummy, took a breath in, and then breathe out. That was longer, deeper breaths, which goes along with everything we've just said now when we're doing the matching and pacing. Remember, we said hand on the tummy, because that's a trigger to remind you, longer, deeper breaths. And remember, when I was doing the massage up his back, then the little press down, automatically when you press down on someone's shoulders, it's saying relax, because what people do when they're tense is their shoulders rise. So just trying to remind you to relax your shoulders. And then I think I also spoke to you about the breathing for when you're birthing your baby, the hypno-pooing, as we call it in hypnobirthing, J breathing, down breathing, and that was about focusing on not holding your breath at that point, and when you were birthing your baby, going with that feeling, so breathing, and then so it wasn't holding your breath, it was like little nudgy sensations that help, as if you had a rod in your back. That's why it's called J breathing or down breathing. So you imagine you've got a little rod in the back with a little flick at the end, and so what we do on the camera, eh? And so that is something that why we called it hypno-pooing, is because the only time that in pregnancy you can really practice this one is when you're sitting on the toilet having a poo. So that is, that's why it was called that. Whereas the other breathing is good for us all to practice, pregnant or not pregnant. Any time is going to help you to be calmer and more relaxed. So focus you know, focus on the out breath. So we've covered loads and loads of things there. We've gone back over a couple of things. I hope that that answers lots of your questions. I hope that you'll give some of those things a little go. And remember, the key things are being upright, moving about when you can, leaning forward, yeah? So, you know, leaning forward, getting in positions that feel comfortable for you, you know, being in a room that creates the ambience, so the lights are done dim, maybe music of your choice playing, maybe getting the person that's supporting you in labour, be that if it's one of us, or be it if it's someone that's with you that you've got from home that's supporting you, doing some of those massages when you want them. Some people say, you know, massage isn't for me, I don't want to be touched, you know, in labour, I don't want to be touched, yeah? But actually, you know, once you get into labour, you know, if you haven't practiced it in the run-up, if you're that sort of person that you don't want to be touched, you probably aren't going to be, you probably aren't going to want it, because you're going to say, no, I don't like to be touched. But if you're that sort of person that, oh, I don't think I like being touched, if you practice it a little bit now, in the run-up, have a little try, see what you think. You might find that you do actually quite like it. So, I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to say that I hope lots of these things will be useful to you, and give them a try. You know, lots of practice, so then they get embedded into your head, and then you make the association. You don't need the whole thing to make you relax, but, you know, think nice, calm, relaxed, and we'll help you and support you all the way. And anything else you want to know about this, then please, please, please speak to your community midwife, or you know, leave a message on Family Assist, and we will definitely get back to you with any questions that you have. So I hope that that's been useful, and